Hey, good day. So, it's a beautiful, let me just say, it is a beautiful day here in Rhode Island, and I am stoked because I really, at this point, I feel pretty sure that we're going to get an early spring, and that is making me so happy. I can't tell you, I did tell you how tired I was of the winter and the cold weather. Neither here nor there. Do you guys like my ugly sweater? Yes, I got this at, the secondhand store, and I was just like, oh, it's so ugly but so cute, and so I'm gonna get it. um, let's see, my hair, as you can see, I have my hair out today. I did want to kind of show you what I meant about how it falls. I haven't done anything to it yet, so I kind of wanted to show how it falls back, sort of, as opposed to, you know what I mean? Like if somebody else had their, some people have their hair loose like this and it falls in their face. Mine doesn't. See, notice how it just kind of hangs back. Um, but yeah, it was doing really cool things today. This is actually a twist out. This is the result of a twist out. I didn't really try all that hard. I just kind of, it was the end of the night and I needed to do something with my hair, so I twisted it up and went to sleep on it, and that's what this is. So yeah, but I was pretty into it. I was pretty into how it was, how it took, so I figured I'd wear it out. I did want to touch on, I have been getting some wonderful, fabulous, like, feedback from you guys. And I'm so thankful for that. Like, it's so important and it's so inspirational to me. It's something that really, and I think you guys probably underestimate how much it means to me, because it is how I know that what I'm doing is hitting its mark or not hitting its mark, or, you know. So I really just wanted to start by saying I appreciate that. And, let's see. See, my ugly sweater is getting a little bit hot. Yeah. Lots of shaking up and things happening. Very recently, like, I've been feeling, like, the past week, I would say, I've been feeling, no, maybe the past 2 weeks, I've been feeling really sort of an increase in energy. I was actually talking to someone about this recently. I have been experiencing sort of an increase in energy, and not so much like the energy of my environment. It seems like is the way that I was perceiving it. It just seemed like everything, like for this past 2 weeks or so, it just seemed like everything has been vibrating, and I am like this sort of passive or still particle, and I'm trying to be calm. Like, my focus is being calm and centered, and everything around me is vibrating. So that's how I've been feeling. But after like talking to someone else about this, I kind of came to some different conclusions and got a better read on what's actually happening. And really, when I really examine it, okay, it's just like most other things, how you can sort of direct your thoughts or your energies at the outside world when things feel a little bit off, or when things are maybe going crazy or things like that. And I guess what I kind of realized, or what I kind of remember, is that, like, most of these things come from us, me, myself, ourselves, when we're thinking and perceiving, or like, yeah, perceiving certain things. And so for me personally, like, that whole increase in energy, and I was kind of thinking, okay, it seems like everybody's almost like the best. So a good way to describe it is almost like everybody's feeling more. But I don't think that that's it. I think that it's definitely me now that I think about it and that I really like fearlessly dive into it. Because I've been having these new situations and these new scenes that I'm being put in, or that I'm finding myself in, and I'm feeling more. It's not the outside world feeling more. It's that I'm feeling more, and that feeling of vibration and me trying to be like this passive particle while everything else is vibrating, that sensation comes from, it's all me. Like, that comes from certain parts of like my emotional body vibrating and just changing and going through all this drastic, rapid, like, transformation and movement and swirling. And part of me, that like core part of me that needs stillness and comfort and things to be clear and distinct, is sort of suffering a little bit. Not it's not painful or bad or anything, but it's, it's these two like warring parts of the self. So yeah, for like a week I was thinking of it as something very external, but now that I rethink it, I do believe that it's more internal than I thought it was originally. And I have to say, I guess on some level, some of the things that have been shifting, I have been a little bit afraid of for a while, and I've been like a little bit hiding from, because there are things that are kind of inevitable situations in all of our lives, and honestly, all good. Like, all of everything that's happening now is like definitely, I think I've said this before, more in line with my visions of my life, like, forever, since I can remember thinking about my future and stuff. So it's like now I am actually living in the future that I sort of envisioned for myself for a while. And it's great and it's happy, and I'm super stoked about it. There is that fear element, though. There is that fear element because there is the change element. And the thing is, and you never know, like, you never know how change is going to continue. You feel the change in the moment, but you don't know how it's going to affect your life long term. And I think that that's sometimes where the fear comes from of things like that. But I noticed it actually got me thinking about some other things, some farther past things and thoughts and ways of being. I guess it just made me think about how it's another piece of everything that I tend to fear or be afraid of comes from inside myself. So with this whole thing, it's kind of, it is not kind of, it's actually, it's exactly that I realize that I have this fear. I have this fear that I didn't even know I had of my own emotions. Isn't that funny? But it comes from like, I really went on a tangent, guys. Like, I really just, my brain just started thinking about this, and I just went off in 1,000 different directions. But one of the major lines of thought that I was on was as a kid, I was so, mostly really a teenager, like a young teenager, not so, yeah, like a kid and like a young teenager. I was so depressed and like so anxious and just freaked out by life and everything. And I think that that was because like that was because I'm an empath and I feel everything. I feel legitimately I feel everything. Even things in my environment. I pick up vibrations from things and people in my environment all the time. It's constant for me. And so that was what was happening. Like I was, as a kid, I didn't understand it and I didn't know what those feelings were, what they meant, or how to reel them and control them and separate them from me. So I was accepting all these things, all these vibrations, all these feelings, all these impressions as my own. And as a person who doesn't really understand that as a little kid, like, that is obvious. That's going to freak you out because you're going to feel like you're feeling all these things and then you're wondering why you're feeling all these things. And then so now you feel crazy because you're feeling all these things and everybody is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why are you crying right now? Why are you freaking out right now? Why are you a recluse right now? And that's what it was. It was just me not knowing how to process and handle and direct that energy, direct that talent. That's a talent and a skill. It makes me suited for what I do. It makes me suited for healing work. So it's a good thing, but you have to know how to deal with it. You have to know how to protect yourself and control it in a sense. There's really no way of controlling it, but channel it. And that's just something that I had to develop. I had to develop that skill of channeling it. But I guess part of the realization that I was speaking of was that is definitely directly related. Those though that time, that little section of my life is definitely relevant to now and the feelings that I've been having for like the past 2 weeks, because what it is me being afraid on a level that I didn't even consciously realize I was, but being afraid to feel that way again and being afraid to be not completely in control of my emotions. And that happens, like, there's no helping that. There's nothing that one can do about that. We can be fully in control of our emotions. I think that I can always be fully in control of my emotions for the most part. But the whole thing of like caring about people and coming to care for other entities is just that. It's giving these other entities some power over your emotions. Because if you have true feelings for someone, no matter how much you try to divert that, they are going to have some manipulation power over your emotions. And the word manipulation sounds negative, but I don't mean it that way, even though it can be very negative. And I know that part of the fear comes from memory and remembering situations and scenarios where it wasn't a good thing, where less less scrupulous or less light oriented types have taken advantage of that and have um really caused me some severe, like, emotional, I don't even use the word trauma. Seriously though, emotional, like, nicks, you know? And so, and we all go through that stuff. We all have those things. We all have emotional, like, cuts and scrapes and burns and bruises, right? But for an empath, I feel everything so deeply. I feel everything so strongly and so deeply that it can be overwhelming. So with that, it's very scary for me, the the idea of falling in love with people. It can be very scary for me. And it's funny because also, like, on the one hand, I am very romantic. I'm extremely romantic in that I love that. I love, like, that whole just being together with another person, or even romance in a non-romantic sense. You know, being together with family, being together with close friends and people you just really like. I love that. Like, that is one of my favorite things. But it still scares me shitless. It is horrifying. And of course, as you get to know people, right, the fear subsides because you kind of learn their character, or you learn what you can about their character. But it's fucking scary, okay? It is scary to be just out here, like, caring about people. But it's real and it happens, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Can't stop it. No matter how much you want to, you can't stop it. So I guess this is kind of a release for me too. This is kind of a release for me because I've been thinking on these thoughts and have come to this conclusion, which I'm telling you now, which is that, like, I'm just flowing with it. Like, I just gotta flow with it because, okay, yeah, I can be afraid. I can feel a little bit nervous about something and still flow with it. So that's the way I've been handling it, and just being very open and honest my about the way that I feel about things and the way that I feel in situations. Because I also really believe that if people understand, they they can make the efforts to minimize that discomfort, especially if they, being on the other end of that, like, what I'm saying is they if you're falling in love with people, if you're falling in love with someone, then they're falling in love with you too. And so by being honest with each other, you can sort of avoid things that trigger those feelings. So that's the way I've been dealing with it. I don't know if anybody else has this problem. And the thing is, because my emotional well is so deep, and because I feel things so strongly and that's what it is. I have very powerful emotions, is the best way to put it. I fall so deeply in love with people, and people tend to fall so deeply in love with me because my emotions are so powerful. And I think maybe it's partially them sensing that, and that's why they fall so hard. But anyway, then our lives start to become enmeshed, and they start to mix up, and the colors start to get all funky, and it is so it is so easy for me to end up in a situation where my boundaries have been dissolved. And so that too, there's also this the theme of my life. I was thinking about this too. The theme of my life is what about me? I end up in these situations, in these relationships, in these environments where I I fall for people, they fall for me, and we're in love. And we love each other so much. And we think each other is so awesome. And then we start to lose our boundaries. But usually it's me. Usually it is me who tends to like lose the most. But that could also be just the way that I perceive it, you know? So yeah, we start to lose our boundaries, and then I end up singing the "What About Me" song. What about what I want? Well, what about what I think? What about what I want to do? What about my plan? What about, you know what I mean? And really, to think back on it, that is what that chunk of my life was. That chunk of my life, childhood, early teen years, where I was really depressed and freaked out. That was what that was. That was a big swath phase, right? Of what about me? You know, even though I don't ever remember saying those words during that period, I'm sure I did, but I don't ever remember specifically saying those words during that period. To think back on it, that is the whole period was just me screaming in like different languages. What about me? What about me? What about what I think? What about what I want to be? What about how I want to live, you know? And the What About Me song is a sad tune for everybody. It's sad for me for the obvious reasons, but it's sad for everybody because the person on the receiving end of that now feels like a total douche. They feel like, well, because it's never on purpose. It's never on purpose. So they tend to feel like, well, damn it, like what the fuck? Like I didn't mean to put you in a cage. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't know that's what I was doing, and I didn't know you felt that way, and like, you know. So with me having had these situations, or having dealt with these situations in the past, there's also that underlying fear. There's also that underlying fear of not wanting to be a part of heartache for someone else, you know? Not wanting to make anybody feel bad for things that they can't control, for just like caring and wanting to be close and around and together and do, you know, like not individual things. And again, I really like that. But at the same time, there's a part of me that always cries out for freedom. There's a part of me that is always calling out for freedom, and I as I'm talking about it now, I think now I'm thinking now that that part of me that that always calls out for freedom, and that part of me that is always screaming for freedom, that part of me that is always holding back certain aspects of self to maintain freedom, that part of me, I believe, was definitely developed in childhood. It was definitely developed in childhood through experiences of lost identity, through experiences of losing my identity to my emotions, losing my identity to my love for other people, and my desire to make them happy, keep them happy, and be in their good graces. But I guess, and at the time, I've grown up to realize that, like, those people, like, they're gonna love me anyway, and they're gonna care about me anyway. Like, it's not because it's not about the things that we cling to as our identity. Love is spiritual. Like, caring about somebody and connecting that way, that's spiritual. And often once that happens, things can change and the situation can change, but I just and the energy that you're sharing can transform. But once that gate is open, to me it's kind of always open as far as the caring. Now, like I said, um situations, and therefore your role in situations changes. But for me, though, the energy directed toward connection, it doesn't, once the door is open, it doesn't really go away. And so, which is, I mean, the basis of unconditional love. you know? So now I don't have that problem anymore. I definitely make it a point to never compromise myself for anything or anyone. And I stay happy that way. I stay happy that way. It's a really good strategy. And I have as much love and support and friends and family and whatever. Like, I have as much as I've always had. It's like an abundance. There's an abundance of love in my life, and like, just all around me. And here I was for a huge chunk of my life thinking that it was dependent on the way I decided to be with people, you know? But no, it's not. It's not. And all the people who I've always known, and who have always, in my experience, so therefore in any point in my life that I can remember, the people who have always been there and who have always loved me, they still do, and they do for, and I guess I just realize now, obviously, right? They still do, but I guess I just realize now that it's for it's not these conditional reasons that you immediately think of. It's not. It's deeper than that. It's stuff that, like, I didn't even know I was doing. It's stuff that I didn't even know was a part of any that I didn't know was a factor in any decisions about how people feel about me, you know? And it's just funny to come to the realization that no, those things are actually the most important things, and the little surface things are they're totally up to you as soon as you make them up to you. And for a lot of people, like a lot of us feel like they're up to other people. A lot of us feel like other people have a hand in those things, but they don't really. They don't really, because once you make a decision, and once you, about anything, once you know though how you're gonna conduct life and how you're gonna live your life, and you live it that way and you're doing what you want to do, even people who may not necessarily agree with it, they, I've just seen that if they love you, they're still gonna love you. They're still gonna love you, even if they say something off, or you just have to. And for me, it was just a matter of learning to not be affected by that stuff, because really, like, that is a reaction that you're having to yourself. When things like that happen, that is reactions that people are having to aspects of themselves. And often to get to the nitty gritty, it's aspects of themselves that they have pushed down or that they don't feel so comfortable with, and here you are being that aspect of themselves. So that can be problematic. And understandably so. I think we've all been through that. If we really process it and really honestly think about ourselves, I think we've all been through that, where somebody got under our skin and we couldn't figure out why. And I think if you really, really think about it, you'll see how you can see yourself in that individual. And that's probably why they drove you fucking crazy, because it's something about them that they're mirroring back at you that you don't really like about yourself so much. Funny how everything comes back to self-love, doesn't it? But it does. It totally does. Speaking of love, I dropped this ring earlier. I was playing with it. I play with it a lot. But I was playing with it and it fell, and that's why what I grabbed at. But speaking of love, this ring, this belonged to my great-grandfather. It's totally not anything expensive, or like, it's probably not even worth much. But to me, this is like my life is just totally different now that I have this and I've been wearing this. You know how I got it? I found it in a storage, like in my grandma's storage room, in a box. And it's actually my mom's. Like, my great-grandfather had given it to my mom before he died. And I found it, and I put it on, and it fit, and I wanted to wear it. And, I mean, as soon as I put it on, like, I didn't know whose it was, but as soon as I put it on, I felt like, no, I want to wear this. Like, I want to wear it, and I don't want to take it off. And so my mom told me whose it was. And, yeah, and I just asked her, could I keep it? And I had to do a little bit of, begging. But not much. She was totally into it. And so now it's with me, and where it'll stay forever. Sorry, Mom, you're never getting it back. But I call it Pop Pop. Yeah, I call it Pop Pop. I never got to meet my great-grandfather. He was already gone by the time I was born. But I hear all these wonderful things about him. Like, I hear about just how great he was. Like, how nice, and how, like... And just, honestly, like, how much my mom loves him enough. Like, how much my mom loves him is enough for me to know that he was, like, awesome. So, I wear this. I call it Pop Pop. And, yeah. Me and Pop Pop have seen a lot together. And Pop Pop protects me. Yeah. I feel very protected when I wear this. So sometimes I tend to wear it, I tend to wear it like to interviews and to things like that. I had some whatever. I had some yeah, I tend to wear it on like interviews, sometimes on dates, um, things like that. Things that it can be a little bit like hairy and you don't really know how it's gonna go. So maybe you want a little bit of like mental protection. Pop pop. So I put it on and I take my pop pop with me wherever I go. I would have loved to meet him, to have met him. It's funny because although I've never met him, I think that I may have had a dream involving him like a few years ago. So I'll tell you about it. I was on a beach. I was on a beach and I was walking on the beach, and as I approached, like, it was like a couple trees, like a couple palm trees, and as I approached, there was this man there. Um, yeah, it was this man, probably about average height. Um, Man, I just remember in the dream, he came off a little bit shorter than me. So it was like average height guy. He was, I don't know, he's just, it's hard. I mean, you know, there's nothing really there's nothing that really jumped out as like a huge descriptor. He had short hair, and this amazingly, oh my god, this amazingly warm, like glowing smile. And I just remember like walking up on this man and him giving me this otherworldly like smile that contained like all the stars in the sky. And he was just looking at me with this very like endeared look in his eyes and just like nodding his head. And he never said anything to me. He never said anything to me, but he's just smiling and looking at me and nodding his head. And I could feel the words like, good going. Like, you're like, keep going. You're doing it. You're getting there. And that was really cool. And that was like I said, that was several years ago. Definitely, it was before, it was also before I got this. It was before I ever had this. Um, so it was a while back. Um, that was a pretty cool experience for me.